people who are in place. Well, so there's IARPC and IARPC collaborations. I need to be careful to distinguish between those two. But IARPC collaborations is a group of people like yourselves and like us who come together across a variety of teams to talk about progress in Arctic research, and particularly progress that's connected to the current Arctic research plan. There's a 5-year plan that goes through 2021, and they're in the process of thinking about the next plan, and that's part of what the meeting's discussion today will be about. But Jen and Barry, I don't know if you want to have any specific additional comments to that. That was a somewhat weak introduction, I think, but you may have additional things to add there.
No, just that when we talk about the next research plan, we should take a look at what the performance elements are for the Arctic collaboration team.
The atmosphere collaboration team, yeah, we could pull those up.
Atmospheric Arctic, yes.
Please don't make us responsible for the whole Arctic. The atmosphere is enough. Yeah, no, thanks, Heis, that was good. I don't think I have anything to add to that. The links are there in the agenda, which I think you've seen, and as Heis mentioned, I think probably most people on the call are familiar with IARPC. But it is a really great collaborative platform, both IARPC itself and IARPC Collaborations, which is the online portal for a lot of disciplines, but particularly for atmospheric science. So today's focus is to summarize our team lead meeting that we held last week. We spent 3 afternoons, all the team leads across IARPC, so not just our team, but spent 3 afternoons together. It was actually 2 weeks ago, talking about the 5-year plan, the 5-year Arctic research plan, which is under development now, talking about our plans for the atmosphere collaboration team over the next year, mapping out meetings and things, opportunities to engage with the different collaboration teams. And then I think we're gonna ask questions. So we can run through that. And Barry or Heist, do you wanna talk a little bit about the first thing there, which is the opportunities to the broader Arctic atmosphere community to contribute to the development of the next 5-year Arctic research plan?
Yeah, maybe we can go to the website, Hazel, and just show them
the current
what the other teams are, and then maybe we can take a look at our performance elements. But
sure.
The whole idea behind ARCPIC that it's and the whole purpose for today's meeting is to get your feedback on what it's okay to keep some of our performance elements the same. So you can see there's one on data, observing systems, atmosphere, and then under environmental intelligence is modeling and data. There's a nice figure that they had showing how all of these teams intersect with each other, but
it would take me a second to find that, I think.
Yeah, it's okay.
But here's the atmosphere's performance element.
Sure.
Cool.
So the we have, is it 3 general topics, and there's subtopics under each one? So advanced understanding of Arctic atmospheric processes and their integrated impact on surface energy budget and mid-latitude weather. And you can see how there's some of these have been around for a few years, and some of them have been updated recently. And we try and update these every year. So the second 2.2 is improve understanding of the composition of the Arctic atmosphere, moisture clouds, precipitations, aerosols, and gases, and their net radiative effects and impact on Arctic climate. And then the third one, general one, is improve the understanding of the processes that control the formation, longevity, precipitation, and physical properties of Arctic clouds, their spatiotemporal distributions, of aerosol types, and Arctic cloud and aerosol modulation of the surface radiation budget. And so we can dig down into the individual, and we often try and highlight upcoming field campaigns or collaborative projects that to keep the performance elements up to date and highlight activities that are going to happen in the next year. One of the changes that I've been promoting is to include a little more explicitly the idea that we need to take a closer look at air quality in the Arctic. I know that NSF has funded a project in Fairbanks called Alpaca. It's going to look at the wintertime PM 2.5 problem there. And so that's one modification I'd like to make to one of the performance elements is to, and I think Brian, Duncan, that might feed in a little bit more with your interesting project that maybe we should have a presentation sometime in the next year about the report that your group has put together.
Yes, I'd be happy to tell you about it.
Good. I think we might have a full schedule, but we might, some of those meetings we have might end up being joint with other groups at other times. And so, well, we'll take a look at that schedule a little bit later.
Yeah, or it may fit into one of the themes we've identified. Where we can,
that's right. We can have more than one presentation at a meeting. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I just sent Hazel a message. Do we have a timeline that we could pull up for the 5-year plan development so we can kind of show where we're at? And I know there was maybe it was Roberto's presentation or something.
I think this is on the IARPC website, and I can share this link as well.
That's pretty good.
So there's a couple things for today's discussion. One is this is our opportunity to receive input and feedback from our community, you guys, on our performance elements, which are all listed there on the website. Barry talked through the 3 higher level ones, and then you can see all of the individual performance elements under each of those 3 themes. And you can, through the discussion, convey input and feedback or suggestions for changing those or additions, or you can put them in the chat, or you can send them in emails to us. But this is really our push to gain some insight and feedback. So I think I just wanted to kind of look at where we are in terms of the 5-year plan development and for IARPC. And so we're currently, the current plan expires in 2021. So we are now under the development piece of it, which is down here. You see on the left in orange. And that's why we're taking input. And then they'll start, the people who are tasked with writing it will start drafting it in the winter. So we have the next weeks and months, I guess, to solicit and receive input.
And
go ahead,
I think there'll be some other listening sessions and webinars as well at the higher level.
I think there will be. Yeah, there's a plan development workshop in September, but I think there'll be some more public opportunities for input as well.
Right. So yeah, or how we function. So going into the 5-year plan, our performance elements, also how we function as a team or how we're structured as a team, those things, any kind of input or general input you can certainly provide. So this is the community's opportunity to provide input that we can use for that. The other thing we want to do today is discuss and show you what we've mapped out in terms of thematic topics for our meetings, our monthly meetings over the next year. And then I think I think there were a few other things on the discussion in terms of agenda, which kind of fall into what I was just saying, feedback to us. So Hyson, Barry, do you want to, I don't know how you want to start the conversation, or do we want to present everything up front, or do we want to talk about the 5-year plan and then move into a discussion on the year for the ACT?
I was thinking it might be nice to provide an overview of our next year's plan, because that we can link right back to the existing 5-year plan. Yep. And give the group a better perspective on how the topics for these meetings kind of are generated, and the amount of kind of coordination that goes on between the teams to try to set things up. And then from there, that will naturally lead to what topics are we missing related to the current plan, and what topics should we really be considering for the next plan. So
that's a great idea. I was just going to point out that at the IARPC Leaders Workshop, we spent time meeting with each of the other collaboration teams, specifically talking about opportunities that we can collaborate between the teams, and that resulted in some of the meetings that we have on this. There's about 30 or 40% of the meetings were things that we wanted to do and maybe hadn't covered yet in the past 12 months, and then things that we knew that other groups brought to us and said, this is something we'd like to collaborate with your team.
Yeah. So if we could pull up, you want to pull up the spreadsheet? Thanks, Hazel. Okay, can everybody see that okay? So this is our working document, our working schedule for the next year. And you'll see we've got a theme, we've got potential speakers. None of these speakers have been confirmed. So these are suggestions, and certainly we'd love to take input on those. And then we do map these to the existing performance elements. So I think that's where, Barry and Heise were saying it'd be good to show this, to show how we're operating under the current 5-year plan and how we'll have to turn that into operating under the new plan when that time comes. And then if we're coordinating and doing collaborative joint meetings with other teams, that's listed down there at the bottom as well. So we run with a fiscal year. So our fiscal year actually starts in October, but this is, this shows this month's meeting starting with July, which is the current meeting that we're all sitting in. And I'll let either of you, if you want to kind of take over and give your input on the overview of this as well.
Heise, why don't you do August?
Okay, yeah, and I was going to say, don't pay too careful attention to the dates quite yet, because one of the things that we're still working through is the alignment with other groups. And so all of the teams sat down and put these spreadsheets together, and sometimes had the ability to reach out to the other teams to kind of coordinate schedules and make sure that everything aligned. But other meetings here that are supposed to be coordinated with other teams may not have been fully set yet. But we have a rough plan here. And in August, one of the performance elements that we have currently with the atmosphere collaboration team has to do with assessment of reanalyses and model performance. And so that's a topic that perhaps we haven't spent as much time on over the last couple of years, and we thought it would be important to revisit that to demonstrate some more progress towards that performance element. And the topic that has come up a lot, and I think a lot of people question at times, including myself, is the performance of reanalyses when it comes to clouds. How well do these model products actually do with representing clouds in the atmosphere? And I think my gut says that it's variable. It depends on when and where and which products you're looking at. But I think that particularly in the Arctic, where the observations can be quite sparse at times, doing a quick dive into this sort of performance is good. And so we're trying to connect with people who have done this historically, including folks from MERA, like Patrick Taylor or others, and NOAA, Gil Campo, works with 20th century analysis, to take a look at that.
Do you want to point to performance element 2.3.4 just to map it back?
Yeah, I mean, I'll let people review review the performance elements themselves. I don't think we need to click back and forth 12 times here in the next 5 minutes. But
right.
It's a performance element that's centered on performance of models and reanalyses. So it's the general gist of that.
And it does call out their ability to represent clouds.
Yeah.
So in September, then we have to write an annual report. It's all the teams write an annual report, and then that gets compiled. So we usually use that month to pull in data, summarize what we've done, see if we've missed anything else, and also seek input just from our agencies and other members of the team. So that's what we'll be focusing on in September, so we can finalize our annual report. And then if you guys want to add anything to September, otherwise we'll go to October.
October's fine.
Okay.
I'll say that really quickly, that September is another good opportunity for the community to make us aware of any activities that perhaps we haven't covered directly in the meetings, but that should be included as progress towards these performance elements. And these reports do go up the chain and make their way back to congressional leaders and others. And so it demonstrates how the agencies are contributing to the kind of carrying out of this Arctic research plan that's in existence, and it's a great way to get your research seen. So please do report back on things that are relevant in that September meeting so that we can include them.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll be seeking input, and if everyone can have a look at the performance elements, if we haven't highlighted your research area, but it really directly ties to a performance element, we'd love to hear about it so we can include it in the annual report as progress. So then in October, we're hoping to have a discussion, a Mosaic wrap-up discussion. And this is something that we've had meetings on each of the past years talking about Mosaic. And that ties, there is an actual performance element that is tied directly to Mosaic under 2.1, it's 2.11. And so this will be our wrap-up discussion of that.
And you can see we will have other collaboration teams joining us for that.
Yes. A lot of focus on Mosaic. Definitely.
And Heiss was part of the Mosaic science team.
Still am.
Yes.
Hopefully they haven't kicked me off yet. So
Good. I'm sure they won't. So yeah, so that'll be a big collaborative meeting with multiple teams to really wrap up Mosaic. And then this is something new. Well, in November is not new. So what we normally do before AGU is have a meeting and get some highlights from research that will be presented at AGU from our community, from our entire team. So we'll be doing that again. So that's also a plug for anyone that's presenting something at AGU that's interesting. We'll put together a meeting, and it can be short, 5-minute, 1-slide types of previews to drum up interest or preview or practice what you're going to present or anything like that. So we do that. We'll be doing that in November. So it's kind of to get everybody interested and see what's going to be happening at AGU. And then moving into December, this is new. We're going to do, we're going to convene an AGU watch party. So we'll be looking for kind of an exciting and relevant session that we can pull the whole collaboration team together and watch, and then probably conduct a discussion afterwards.
So the idea is at the November meeting, we'll pick which session to have our watch party for.
Yep. And in this time of teleworking and remote, everybody being remote, we thought that would be a good community collaborative thing to do prior to the holidays. Somebody want to take, you want to take January?
Yeah, and in January, we talked with the health and well-being collaboration team and wanted to do something on air quality and health in the Arctic. They were specifically interested in wildfires because that impacts all of the Arctic residents, but we were going to have part of it on the Fairbanks air quality issue and on anthropogenic and wildfire air quality issues for the Arctic. And we haven't really thought about speakers. We thought maybe of getting someone from the state of Alaska or the EPA Region 10 that is trying to keep a careful watch on air quality in the Arctic. And but we're open to suggestions for speakers that you may know.
Yeah. And then in February or sometime next winter, again, these might get moved around a bit, but we're hoping to have a session that focuses on Greenland ice cores, climate and trace gas analysis. So looking at the history of those and then also looking forward, because there seems to be a bit of a revival and interest of collecting cores and doing analyses in Greenland, both shallow and somewhat deep. So we'll sort of tie that together, and from a historical perspective, what's missing and where things are headed within the community for focus on atmosphere gas analyses in ice cores. And then in March, we think it'll be time to revisit COVID again. We held a session earlier this spring to hear about the impacts of COVID on Arctic atmospheric research. And so I think we'll revisit that 1 year out from the start of the COVID pandemic, I guess certainly in the US and across the world, and see how things are shaping up for the 2021 field season, but also and then how the impacts from 2020 are being mitigated, or if the impacts will just continue through 2021. So that'll be a topic there to listen.
So Jen, how many scientists made it to Greenland this summer?
0.
Okay. So you just swapped out the crews to keep the experiments going? Yeah.
Yeah, all NSF funded projects and all NASA funded projects have been deferred. NOAA has instruments at Summit, but we have science technicians there who operate the instruments. So we were able to swap out the crew and bring in a fresh crew, including science techs, in May, and we'll be swapping the crew again here next month in August as we resupply the station. So we're only doing mission critical personnel movements, and that's just to sustain the science at Summit, the ongoing observations. So none of the observations have been affected. We've been able to maintain those throughout COVID, and we'll continue to maintain them through the winter. We'll be refueling the station next month. But beyond that, no scientists have gone to Greenland, and there's really limited. The NASA OMD project is seeking permission to go and do some limited aircraft observations. Smithsonian, which is an astrophysics project, is looking to try and go in the fall to Thule, but I don't have any other projects that I'm aware of that are going. I guess Connie Steffen's AWS systems, or he may be going to manage some of those, but very little.
I think it's a good topic to have the community keep us informed on as well, and we could have 12 meetings on that topic alone, and people would have plenty to talk about with all of the impacts. But we should keep this one going, because otherwise we're going to get stuck on the calendar and not get the input that we're looking for.
Yep. All right. So then, who wants to take April? Data consolidation.
I'm gonna let you do it.
Yeah, that's fine. So there was quite a bit of interest, I would say, from a variety of groups to move beyond the kind of collection phase for observations for some of the bigger campaigns. Mosaic again comes up. There was a lot of activity related to the year polar prediction, and so moving into data consolidation and synthesis from those two projects is on the agenda for April.
And May was, we had a meeting with the terrestrial ecology collaboration team, and they are in the middle of, Mike Fikowski from NASA is one of the co-chairs of that group, and he's been involved with the Above program for several years, and they've expressed an interest in working with the atmospheric community. They've got some nice bottom-up and surface observations of methane changes in the Arctic methane fluxes, and they wanted to see what the atmospheric, have a joint session with the atmospheric community.
And I think we can move quickly through June, July, and August. In June, there was again some interest from other groups, including the physical oceanography team, about looking at air-sea exchange, and that's in both directions. Atmospheric inputs into the ocean as well as actual ocean feedback on the atmosphere. And so we're going to have a meeting on that with that team in June. In July, there was interest with the modeling team from the environmental intelligence group to look at observing system simulation experiments in the Arctic and understand how that's connecting to the Arctic observing system. And then August, I can't see, it's hiding behind all of your faces, so let me move to my own spreadsheet. It's
the application of emerging technologies in Arctic atmospheric research. And this is a topic that's sort of near and dear to, I think, all of our hearts. And it will be held in collaboration with the newly formed, there's a self-forming team, I guess, right, in IARPC, focused on polar technology. So, so we'll focus on technology in the August discussion.
Yeah. So with all that in mind, that was a relatively quick overview, but we were hoping to get a little bit of feedback from the team about the general range of topics covered, whether there were any kind of really big glaring gaps in the sorts of topics that we picked. And we should say that while we have worked to put the schedule together, it's by no means concrete, and certainly we can adapt if necessary. And then also ask you about whether you can think of specific speakers that would be really good for addressing some of the topics that are listed, and self-nominations are perfectly fine. So if you say, well, I am definitely capable of speaking to that topic, we would love to hear from you. We'd love to have as many people speak up on that side as possible. And if you see opportunities for engagement with other teams that perhaps we haven't recognized yet, to let us know. And so maybe we can open the floor up to the group to get some feedback. Negative or positive feedback is welcome. So feel free to say this looks great, or you're really missing out on X, Y, and Z efforts that should be highlighted.
Hi, this is Brian Duncan. I just less than an hour ago, I saw a really fantastic presentation about how bizarre the Arctic weather is this year, all the way from the stratosphere down to the surface. And I think that might be of interest, especially from not just the weather perspective, but the impact on atmospheric composition, air quality, wildfires. So I could give you the name of the person that gave that presentation. Though he's not an Arctic expert, but he declared himself a weather weenie at the very beginning of the presentation. It was a very engaging presentation.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Brian. I think that's a really good point. And there has been a lot of interesting stuff going on in the Arctic. You know, the crazy temperatures that we saw in Siberia earlier this summer and other things. The ice is on track to be quite low this year. So that is something we should keep in mind as we move into the fall. And basically for all of these meetings, I'm sure there will be some, or most of the meetings, I'm sure there will be some connection between this summer's or this year's weather up there and the topic at hand. So yes, we would be really grateful if you could pass on that contact info.
That's a great topic. And Brian, we had a few months ago one of our meetings about the Arctic ozone minimum, and that came up during that discussion, how even in the spring, how strange the springtime weather was, atypical for the Arctic, and helped produce that very strange conditions that resulted in the ozone destruction in the Arctic.
Yeah, and going back even a couple of months further, we talked about the Arctic vortex, and also just the impacts on mid-latitude weather. Back this past winter, we had a discussion about that. So, and we've been looking to, I think we did revise one of our performance elements to start to focus on that area.
Is there any other feedback about topics that we're missing, or topics you're really excited about and know the perfect speaker for?
This is Richard Ekman from NASA. One that could also fit maybe under the air quality issue is one of my ACMAP projects is led by a University of Alaska researcher, Nicole Mulders, and looking at changes in atmospheric composition from increasing Arctic ship traffic. And, you know, perhaps if there's an opportunity sometime later in the next year, maybe I could see if she'd be willing to give a presentation on that topic. Or I know she does other air quality issues, and given her you know, her affiliation in Alaska and living in Fairbanks, I suspect she might be an interesting speaker.
Thank you, Rich. Yeah, I'm sure she's part of the Alpaca project, because that's based out of the University of Alaska Fairbanks. But that ship, that is one of the, you know, the development of ports in the Arctic and increased shipping in the Arctic is a really interesting topic. So we will add it to the list and see if there's an opportunity to put that in.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Helan.
Yeah, so I was just to add that for the there's an item called COVID-19 impact on the facility or research, but they're also pretty popular, especially over the next AGU meeting. There's some sessions about the scientific impact of COVID-19 in terms of aerosol emissions and other gas emissions, ozone, all those. I'm wondering if you plan to cover that in maybe in the next years, because there are some groups or communities coordinating model intercomparison studies on the impacts. I imagine that some papers, publications will be out in the next few months. Do you want to consider to cover that in one of the future meetings?
I think that would be great. How long?
Yeah.
I think there is a session at AGU, at least one on natural laboratories and the whole COVID impact on our atmosphere and how that might be studied, and to the extent that this translates to the Arctic. Another thing that comes to mind is our ability to forecast the Arctic given the reduction in aircraft traffic in that environment. So I think that would be great, and we might be able to kind of reframe that COVID meeting to be broader than just the impact on field work and deployment.
I agree. That's a really good suggestion, and I suspect that our observation centers will start to see data trends and things that they can present at that time too. So,
and another comment is about the August meeting on the reanalysis for clouds and water vapor. What time frame is that? Is August mid-August or?
Our meetings are typically on the 4th Tuesday of the month. So it's almost always the last week of the month. Sometimes it's a little bit off, but
yeah, so
that's our usual meeting spot.
Yeah, within the highlight RASM team, we've done some work on that topic. If you do need speakers, we could volunteer at least one person to present. Just let us know. So how's you know us also if you need the speaker.
Sure.
I see that you already have Patrick on it, and yeah, he's a perfect candidate for that.
Yeah, I'll say that the list of speakers is all ideas at this point. So we haven't confirmed anyone for any of the meetings, which is part of why we're doing this first meeting, because we had to jump into a meeting pretty quickly after the workshop. But I think that would be great. And I think having someone from the DOE side represented would be very useful.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I appreciate you volunteering. And we have a lot of our meetings, I tend to call them mini workshops. So we tend to look for 2 to 3 speakers, short presentations, and then a discussion. So we hold it pretty short and focused, and then a discussion amongst the speakers and the attendees. So it's kind of a mini workshop on the topic. So I think that's great. Thank you for suggesting that.
I had another. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to just call on you because I thought I heard your voice earlier. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had another suggestion. My colleague Ivy Tan is putting together a review on Arctic amplification and clouds over the Arctic, and I thought that might be a good one to fit in with the one that Patrick's doing. Maybe she's coming more from a modeling perspective, but I mean, I think anyways, it's just a suggestion.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. That's a good suggestion. Do you know, for the study that Ivy is doing, is she using reanalyses specifically, or is she using GCMs?
I think she's GCMs.
Both. I think both. Especially Ivy's work focused more on cloud feedbacks. Yeah, it's great work. And both Patrick and Ivy and someone else, they're organizing a special issue on frontiers in earth sciences, a special issue on Arctic amplification and feedbacks.
Yeah, so that might be, something else she could talk about if she were,
Mhm.
given an opportunity.
Thanks, Lauren. I'm taking down notes here. That's all the typing in the background. Other thoughts? Are there results from larger projects or field campaigns or other things that should be highlighted that perhaps we're missing in the range of topics that we're covering? And we really like to try to have meetings that are timely and highlight ongoing efforts that the community should be aware of. So if you're aware of those, this would be a good time to speak up on those.
Maybe Mark was going to say something. He came off mute.
I was just going to not go off of new stuff, but just seconding the Polar Technology August date. And I was one of the co-organizers of the Polar Technology Conference in March, from which that team formed from. And so just seconding that direction of it. And if you need help in identifying people when it gets down to that, you can reach out to me.
Perfect.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I think we probably could use some help.
Yeah, I was involved with the Polar Technology Conference for many years and have sort of turned it over to Kate.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you were there, and I've been involved with it internationally as well. So it's a really exciting topic. So definitely we'll look to you for some input and suggestions.
Yeah, and a little side note there, we're sort of rebranding it from Polar Technology Conference, PTC, to Polar Technology Community.
Perfect.
With other events along the way.
Yep. That's great. What other questions haven't we addressed here back in our agenda? Lots of good input. Any, we have one graduate student? Is it just one graduate student on here? Do we have any suggestions from graduate students in terms of things you want to hear about or questions or concerns?
I almost think we should keep a slot open or two so we can put an emerging topic.
Well, we can always shift, right? So,
yes.
But I agree, yeah, emerging topics should take precedent probably.
Right.
So that's good for the group to hear though. This isn't set in stone. We've mapped it out so we have some things, but certainly emerging topics should take precedent. We really appreciate your input and help, especially in suggesting speakers and things and topics. So we're all one team. We're just here to coordinate.
I guess one other question for the group is, to what extent have you connected with other teams? I know many of us are multidisciplinary in our science, and so I don't know if people have also connected to, for example, the sea ice collaboration team or other groups, or whether you're really focused on the atmosphere side. If anyone would like to speak up on that topic, it would also help us to better understand how we can connect communities a little bit.
Good question.
I know we have a lot of familiar faces here from the atmosphere meetings, but I have no idea where you go in your non-atmosphere time.
So my main team was actually the modeling sub-team.
Okay.
But yeah, my research was more focused on atmosphere, so I often attend the atmosphere meeting too.
So Hailan, based on that, do you see other opportunities to interact with the modeling sub-team that we're not really capturing here? I'm sure the modeling team does look at the atmosphere quite a bit, and so I wonder whether there are specific topics that we should consider trying to join with them on that you're aware of.
Yeah, I think the example would be like the August meeting you planned. You have tried to have, I don't know if that's a co-host with, co-sponsored by the modeling team, or just you mentioned modeling sub-team there. But more.
Yeah, that's a co-host for sure. There's another one we have the modeling. I guess it's the Greenland Ice Core one and the Mosaic one.
Yeah, I think we've done pretty well at holding collaborative meetings with the modeling team, and we'll continue to do that. I think that's one team that we have worked with.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to do so.
And the Aussies is with the modeling team too. In July.
Hazel, can you go back to the bullets? Because I want to ask, unless somebody has more questions or comments on that, I'd like to kind of switch us to that last bullet right there. And it asks, the question is, are there key topics that are not covered under current performance elements that you believe should be covered at some level because they're time sensitive? So that the answer to that could be what Heis was saying about emerging topics, or Barry was saying we should keep open sessions so that we can address emerging topics. But I think that's for the schedule for the next year. But I think this question is also bigger. Are there things that are not covered in our current performance elements that we should really, provide input to include in the performance elements for the next 5-year plan? So I think that question could be answered in multiple ways. And I want to just let everybody reflect on that for a second.
Should we pull up the performance elements again?
A testament to Hazel's ability to drive a meeting here. They're in the middle, I think.
They're in somewhere.
They're in the
Sorry,
middle. Next one over. Next one over.
Yeah,
There you go.
because of the, which one did you want to look at? Sorry, I was also typing in the chat.
Maybe we can start here, or we can go backwards.
Maybe, okay, yeah. So this, either way, or go up to the top.
I can start here.
All right. So the Mosaic one will probably be sunsetted, right? I think we're looking at sunsetting that one.
Yeah.
First 2.1.1. And we can add the higher level themes as well. So you can.
Yeah. We're not restricted to 3.
No.
I want to allow time for this, but just going back to the discussion, I think maybe Izuku Wu is going to share from his perspective as a grad student.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think on this, people could provide written input or reach out to us too. But I do want people, because it may take some time, but I would ask, and I think we should also maybe post something on the IARPC collaborations portal to ask people to reflect on the current performance elements and tell us what's missing or what's not really aligned there. So same goes with meetings, but particularly for this, is there some piece we're missing?
Well, this is the time to rewrite them. We can make changes, subtle changes over time, but it's.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay.
So, is it Chuck? What did you have feedback or no?
We can't hear you. I'm not sure. It looks like you're off of mute, but we're not able to hear you.
No, we can see you, but we can't hear you.
If you happen to be on a phone, it's *6 to unmute normally.
*6.
Hmm.
And we could hear you at the beginning, so that's strange.
Yeah.
Nope.
So I was just going to say, I in a way, I find it strange that we have a modeling sub element, because I do think that modeling goes throughout all of the collaboration teams. But maybe the modelers want a chance to talk amongst themselves, like get all the modelers from since the models are integrating all the different parts of the Earth system. I can see how they might want to talk amongst themselves as well.
Yep, I would agree.
Well, it seems as though we're wrapping up here. I just encouraged Izuchukwu, if he can hear us, to perhaps share his thoughts in the chat. But I want to thank everybody, and we're reaching the end of our hour. If you do have other thoughts about either the topics that we have slated for the year, or additional topics that you haven't thought of today, but pop into your head in future weeks, if there are things that you really think the atmosphere collaboration team should be looking at during the year, please let us know. We're definitely open to having those discussions. And please stay tuned to the community for opportunities for engaging with the new 5-year plan. I think there are some opportunities that are ongoing. There's a Federal Register open, for example, and I know many of the agency leaders have already submitted input, but that's not to say that individual researchers shouldn't be contributing to this discussion as well as the formulation of the new plan occurs. Jen, Barry, any closing comments? I guess the plan currently is to have our next meeting on the reanalyses in August, and we will start working through the plans to make that happen. Any other comments that we should share?
I was just going to say our graduate student posted something to the chat, and it says, we suspect that Arctic biogenic weathering will draw down atmospheric CO2. I would like to learn more about stuff like this, and is this something the group can accommodate? And I would say I think that the Greenland Ice Core meeting is something that would be a good place to put in something like that. That, the changes in CO2 over hundreds and thousands of years is a result of weathering, and as well as feedbacks, storage of carbon in the oceans, all different kinds of processes. And so
right. I'm just making a note on that one, but yeah, sure. I agree. I think we can incorporate that question in there, hopefully, especially if you have speaker suggestions. That'd be helpful. I'll just add, I just think that I mean, these things all take extra time and stuff, so I really appreciate everybody joining us for this discussion today. I think it was really helpful for us actually to have you pose your questions to us and suggestions.
And hopefully we will see you again in the coming months as we actually go through some of these proposed meetings. And
you can post to the IARPC collaboration website at any time. You don't have to rely on just state. We'd be happy to get an email from you, but if you post it to the collaboration website, we will see it there as well. And well, everyone will see it, not just us. So.
Any other updates or other things we need to include, Hazel, in today's discussion? I think there's 2 minutes left.
I don't have any. I'll, yeah, again, the recording of this meeting and the meeting notes will be posted within a few days on the IARPC website. And yeah, just echo the co-chairs. Thanks for everybody joining today.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all. See you next month.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.